There's a quiet battle happening inside you every single day. One part of your mind wants comfort, ease, and quick rewards. The other wants growth, structure, and long-term peace. Most of the time, the faster voice wins. Not because it's stronger, but because it speaks louder and sooner. It promises relief right now, while discipline asks you to wait. And in that small moment of choice, you feel the tension between who you are and who you want to become. That's where most people misunderstand the problem. They think they lack willpower. They think something is wrong with them. But the truth is simpler. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do. It's trying to protect you, to keep you safe, to reduce discomfort as quickly as possible. Dopamine isn't your enemy. It evolved to push you toward survival, toward food, connection, progress. But the world changed faster than your brain did. Now the same system is triggered by scrolling, notifications, junk food, and constant stimulation. Your brain still rewards these things as if they matter, even when nothing meaningful actually happened. It gives you a small sense of completion, a temporary relief, and then leaves you wanting more. That's why discipline feels so difficult. Not because it's unnatural, but because it's quiet. It doesn't give instant reassurance. It doesn't create the same rush. In a world built on noise and instant gratification, discipline feels invisible, almost unrewarding at first. But here's the shift most people never make. Your craving for dopamine isn't really about pleasure. It's about safety. Every time you reach for distraction, there's something underneath it: stress, uncertainty, fear of failure, discomfort. Your brain is trying to soothe that feeling as quickly as possible. It's not trying to harm you. It's trying to help you survive the moment. So when you try to force discipline, your brain resists, not to sabotage you, but to protect you. That's why motivation fades and routines collapse. You're not just changing habits. You're challenging a system built around emotional survival. And that system doesn't change overnight. Real discipline doesn't start with force. It starts with understanding. Instead of asking, "How do I push harder?" ask, "What am I trying to escape right now?" That single question can reveal more than any productivity hack ever will, because every habit you struggle with once served a purpose. Procrastination, scrolling, avoidance, they all began as solutions, ways to cope, ways to feel in control when things felt uncertain. And until you understand that, you'll keep repeating them without realizing why. Most people try to change their lives in bursts. They feel motivated, create a perfect plan, and believe this time will be different. But that excitement is also dopamine, the thrill of a new identity, the fantasy of becoming someone better overnight. And like all quick highs, it fades. Real change is slower. It feels uncomfortable at first because you're not chasing a high. You're building stability. You're teaching your brain something new, something it hasn't fully learned yet. Your brain doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to meaning. When you shift from "I have to do this" to "I'm choosing this," something changes. Discipline becomes self-respect instead of punishment. It becomes a decision, not a burden. That's the difference. Discipline isn't about forcing behavior. It's about creating internal safety. You can't stay consistent if part of you feels unsafe. You can't focus if your mind is trying to protect you from something unresolved. There's a phase where change feels empty. Your old habits don't satisfy you anymore, but your new ones don't feel rewarding yet. This is where most people quit. They think nothing is working, but this is where change is actually happening. Your brain is recalibrating. It's learning a new definition of reward. And that process feels like boredom, like something is missing, like the excitement is gone.
But that emptiness isn't failure. It's space. Space for something deeper and more real to grow. If you stay in it, your brain slowly begins to associate calm with safety, structure with relief, and consistency with peace. Discipline stops feeling like restriction and starts feeling like stability. It becomes something you rely on instead of something you resist. You begin to notice small changes. You don't need constant distraction. You feel less pulled toward your phone. You find satisfaction in finishing things, in showing up, in keeping promises to yourself. These changes are subtle, but they matter more than any sudden transformation. And that's where self-respect begins. Not in big wins, but in small, repeated actions. In quiet moments where no one is watching, and you still choose to do what you said you would. Every time you follow through, your brain learns, I can trust myself, and that belief changes everything. Because once you trust yourself, you don't need constant stimulation to feel okay. Your brain doesn't follow your goals, it follows your identity. If you see yourself as inconsistent, your actions reflect that. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who shows up, your behavior slowly aligns with that belief. Discipline then becomes identity. You stop forcing yourself. You act because it feels natural. Because not doing it feels off. Because it no longer feels like effort. It feels like who you are. You're no longer fighting yourself. You're working with yourself, and that changes the entire experience. Over time, the pull toward distraction weakens. It doesn't disappear, but it loses its control over you. You can sit in stillness. You can feel discomfort without escaping it immediately. That's real freedom. Not the freedom to do anything, but the freedom from being controlled by every impulse. The freedom to choose your actions instead of reacting to them. Life becomes quieter, but clearer, more grounded, more intentional. You start appreciating focus, presence, and meaningful progress. These aren't intense highs, but they're stable. They don't crash. They don't leave you empty. And slowly, your brain begins to crave what supports you instead of what distracts you. That's the real transformation. Not removing dopamine, but redirecting it toward what actually matters. The battle inside your mind doesn't disappear, but it becomes quieter, more balanced. You still slip sometimes, but you recover faster. You don't spiral the same way because you've built something stronger than motivation. You've built trust. And from that place, discipline stops being something you chase. It becomes something you live. Not perfectly, but consistently. And in the end, that's the real goal. Not perfection, not constant productivity, but a steady relationship with yourself. A mind you don't need to escape. A life where you can sit with yourself and feel at peace. Because what you were really looking for was never dopamine, was never discipline. It was peace.